I am Daniel Boulud from Restaurant Daniel in New York City, and I'm making my favorite steak au poivre. Restaurant Daniel has always been the restaurant I dream of. We're gonna be making today a Côte de Bœuf au poivre. Au poivre means with pepper. We do a steak au poivre sauce where we have shallots and herbs, butter, and flambé with cognac. So here we are starting. Côte de Bœuf means bone-in double steak ribeye. So this is a 34-ounce steak. The good thing with the bone is it's gonna help keep part of the steak a little bit more rare, and anything you cook on the bone is always better. We put a string to hold the meat tight together. Sometimes with the cap, you could lose the cap here. So what defines a good steak is often the blend of fat and lean. It's okay if you have nugget of fat in the middle. That's gonna nourish the meat while it's cooking, and you can always remove it when you serve it. The first thing you have to do when you cook a thick steak like this is to let it temper a little bit. So you leave it outside maybe for 20 minutes. Now, if you like your steak very rare, then don't temper it, but you don't want to eat it cold either. So that's why you want to be able to cook it rare and have it warm inside. So the first thing we do is the seasoning. You salt the outside. This is sea salt. We're using a pepper blend that is made of 6 pepper inside. And the 6 pepper are from different continents. There is some green, there is some black. Sometimes we have some pink pepper. You can use totally only black pepper. I like the fact that many peppers have different fragrance. You can also pre-season your steak, but not too long ahead. I mean, in a restaurant, you cannot pre-season the steak. You get the odor, you season the steak, you cook it, and it's all fine. So, you know, there's so many theories about steak. What I'm gonna do is my theory. So good luck. I wanted to cook my Côte de Bœuf in my pan, the Daniel Boulud kitchen pan. But if you have a cast iron pan, if you have a copper pan at home, as long as you can maintain a consistent heat. I have a little bit of beef fat that is rendered from the trimming of the Côte de Bœuf. The beef fat has been cooked and also cooked with a little bit of garlic, thyme. So I use a little bit of beef fat in the pan and a little bit of clarified butter. The beef fat can take higher temperature, and it is good to cook in its own fat. But it don't matter if it's a pork chop, if it's a beef chop, or if it's a veal chop, you should always keep the trimming and cook with it. I would say medium high. As long as you see the fat bubbling and crippling and making music, that's a good sign. There's gonna be a little bit of smoke, but you don't want too much. You lower, you raise, you make sure that you don't burn your steak, but you sear it well. When you cook a steak, when you use a fork, you don't go in the middle and poke your steak. You always go on the side in a part of the steak that is not the prime meat, but right there, for example, and you can turn it like this. And I'm from Lyon, I love garlic, so I like to put some garlic inside my steak too. So this is only gonna flavor the fat, some thyme. This is just to flavor, and if you feel that it's burning, you take it out. We're gonna give many sear from one side to the other. I'm trying to do a constant turning. I wouldn't cook it for 5 minutes on one side, 5 minutes on the other. I'd rather go gradually, gently inside. Even out the temperature and make sure that both sides of the steak have the same gradual cooking inside. And you don't want to create a crust that is too well done on the outside and is too uneven between one side and the other. You want the perfect steak. And also, you know, cooking a Côte de Bœuf at home, if you put too much heat, it'll be very smoky. So you really have to be gentle with the steak and be patient with the steak. And that's why the way I'm cooking here, it takes patience rather than speed. You see, the music never stops. And that's what you want. Is you don't want smoke, you just want music. You can feel it by touching how the meat is still very rare on the inside, yeah. I think we have been doing it now for almost 10 minutes, but that's good. That's how you want to do it at home. You want to be gentle, not create too much splattering also with the fat, because that will take you 2 days to clean the kitchen. We have a broiler at the steakhouse that goes up to like 1200 degrees or something, but no one has this type of broiler at home. So here I'm giving you the home version of how to cook your thick steak at home. And if there is any other chef that do it differently and smartly, follow him too. Now my steak is medium rare, So I let it rest nicely. You want the steak, the temperature to get gently into it. So the outside is very hot, the inside is still cold. So now it's gonna be warm by the time I finish my potatoes paillasson here. With my steak, I like potato, I like vegetable. Here we're gonna have this pomme d'arfin. I think it's perfect because it goes well with the sauce. It's tasty, something classic French. So I have potato, I have celery roots, carrots, and my favorite root vegetable, a truffle to go with it. So as you see, I am turning this into a small, medium julienne, almost like matchsticks. You have to be very careful with this tool. It's not recommended to use it if you never used it before. You can use a food processor that will do the same job, but we like it the old-fashioned way here. I have celery roots, the root vegetable inside. You can do any kind of vegetable as long as the vegetable will marry well with the potatoes. So this gets nicely mixed. If you don't have truffle, it's okay. I just wanted to show you that during the truffle season, that's what I like to do, to put a little bit of truffle inside. If you don't have truffle, you can put mushroom in it. Truffle is very particular because it's basically a mushroom on testosterone. You put a little bit inside and it'll give a lot. So here I have a little bit of clarified butter. I rather want to use clarified butter than fresh butter at the start. So again, it's all about keeping the temperature very high, but you can use oil as well. And this is a simple dish and you can do it with only potatoes and maybe a little bit of onion. What I like also inside this, sometimes it's a little bit of shallots. Just potatoes is delicious. That's the original, just potatoes. And after you put it in the pan, you start to really compress the top, you compress the side, so it becomes even, and you push on the edge to keep it all together, and the vegetable is gonna start to cook gently. So, of course, if you do it just with carrots or celery, it's going to be hard to stay together. But with the starch of the potatoes, hopefully it will stay together. And then what I like is to put a little bit of butter like this. I'm moving lightly like this, just to even out the cooking underneath and make sure that it's coming out nicely. So you have to make sure that you keep that very much together. And the steam, while cooking, the steam will start to cook the center and the top. You don't want smoke, you don't want too much heat, but you want to make sure that you are always listening to the potatoes frying gently underneath there. So I don't want to add too much fat, but in order to cook it nicely underneath, I'm putting a little bit of butter here before I flip it on this part. Are you ready? Because there's only one flip, huh? And if I mess up, don't blame me, okay? Voila. You see the browning? It has been gentle. It was done with clarified butter and fresh butter. It's very crusty, but it's very moist below. And by having browned the potato perfect, already half of it is cooked. Now I just need to cook the other half the same way, and we're gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna let that finish gently here to cook. Now we're gonna finish the steak and the au poivre sauce. What's important, of course, is to use the pan you cook the steak with, but you can remove the garlic, the shallots, the thyme. I had a bay leaf. And basically what I want is all the paper that fell off the beef, what's left in the pan. It's a beautiful beef fat with a little bit of butter. What's important in the pan is what we call the suc, which is the juices of the beef, the element of the bottom of the pan here, that's gonna go away when we make the sauce. That's gonna give wonderful flavors. I'm gonna give a quick sear to the beef one more time here, just to warm it up. It rested, and I'm putting the juice that was in the pan here. I'm just giving it a quick warm up in the pan. And so now, some butter inside. Don't forget that in the fat I left of the beef, there's a lot of flavor with the thyme, the herb, the garlic, the shallots already. But I'm adding extra shallots to finish the sauce now. I am putting with the shallots also a teaspoon of pepper that's gonna fortify my sauce au poivre. So teaspoon will make that much. I don't recommend to play with this at home, but if you don't have cognac, you can put bourbon, of course, that will be delicious. I have a French cognac here because that's how I make my sauce au poivre. So you don't want the shallots to burn, but to color. And of course, if you want to make your steak happy, You just give him a little bit of cognac flavor on it before you finish the sauce like this. Voila. And what I like is to, when we do a flambé, voila, is to also give some flambé to the steak as well. We want to burn the alcohol, but we want to keep the flavor of the cognac. By nature of the cognac, the alcohol will burn for sure. So I am putting a little bit of beef stock here, which is a sauce we have as a base here at the restaurant. If you don't have beef stock at home to make your sauce, if you have your trimming in the pan and all that, it'll be delicious as well. You can find also demi-glace, which is made with mostly beef in a freezer of a grocery store. You can find that. So I'm reducing that very well, almost to what we call glace de viande. Not demi-glace, but glace de viande, which is basically a beef stock reduced to the max. And then I put cream inside. I like my steak au poivre a little creamy. You can have it without cream if you like. So I wouldn't cook it any longer than that. And then what I like to do, that is absolutely not conventional, but I don't care, is to put a little bit of mustard inside. So that's the little je ne sais quoi that give a little more extra kicks. And so if you want your sauce to be a little cleaner, you can strain it as well. And if you feel then the sauce is a little too shiny and maybe you overcook it a little bit, then the simple thing is to add a little bit of water in it. That's just nothing wrong cooking with water. Very good. It has a nice roasted flavor. It's peppery. That mustard give a little bit also of condiment to it. The shallots, the cognac, all that composed together make it for a rich and spicy and creamy and delicious sauce for the côte de bœuf. So there is different way to cut the côte de bœuf. In the steak, there is the bone. There is the things around the bone that you want to keep. It's delicious because it was well trimmed and perfect. And then you have the eyes here, and then you have the ribeye cap. What I like is that everybody can have a little bit of the eyes and the ribeye cap. So first, I will cut the bone. I will leave a little bit of meat on the bone because there is always someone that loves to eat the bone. So I like to detach the eye and keep the ribeye cap. I like the meat rare in the middle, medium rare around, and well seared on the outside, but not well done on the outside, just well seared. What's important is that you want that crust to be thin, and that's why we gently roast it on both sides to really get that beautiful, gentle crust. So we cut that all the way down. If you don't want to cut it, then you can serve yourself a big slab. It's okay too. And then the ribeye cap, I like to make sure I cut it in a way that you can enjoy because it's a little bit more fatty on the outside. And so you can enjoy the whole roasted side of it. And it's a delicacy, that part as well. It has a different texture than the heart of the steak. With my steak, I like to have watercress. Why watercress? Because watercress is peppery, watercress is spicy, and it goes perfect with a steak like that. And of course the sauce here. And to finish, I have my flavored beef fat here that I'm gonna drizzle a little bit over the steak. So this step here is just to bring back a little bit of a beefy, flavorful fat on it and to shine a little bit the steak with that. And then we finish with the fleur de sel, tiny little snowflakes on top of salt. Voila. Côte de bœuf au poivre, paillasson de racine, sauce au poivre. Bone-in ribeye steak au poivre with a root truffle potato pie. That is my Sunday's lunch at home. Well, it's not every day that we do home cooking at Daniel, but my home is right above the kitchen here. You know, the French, we love our sauce. The sauce can be 50% of the steak. That's how I like it. The meat and the sauce together is perfect. Tender, tasty, and as you see, the crust here on the sear, that's where also extra flavor is. The sign of a good steak is when there is a good crust. Peppery, delicious, so French. When I taste this, it brings me back to my youth. And it's like when I had my first steak au poivre in France. That's the beauty of food, is to take you back places. I think don't be scared. Just don't set the house on fire when you do the flambé. If you're really scared to make a steak, then call me. I'll come in your home and make it for you. I just came back from LA to do a Chefs for LA charity with the chef in LA there for people in the industry that was hurt by the fires. I like that they gave me a French knife, a real French knife. This is not a steak knife. This is not normally what you cut a steak with, but I felt, I'll honor them, honor the steak, and it was a wonderful fundraising. So if anyone watched me cutting a steak with this, forgive me. I was just trying to be sending a kiss to my friend in LA.